This essay example, as well as thousands of others, is available in text format on our website for free and without registration. Simply Google Ivy Panda Free Essays.
The story revolves around the extent to which a group can bear responsibility for an individual's welfare and well-being. It also raises ethical questions relating to an individual and the ethics of an organization. The case study is a narration of Bowen McCoy's story on an expedition to hike the highest mountain in the world, the Himalayas. McCoy spends a substantial amount of time hiking the mountain that cross-cuts the plains of Nepal. As the journey continued to be challenging, he meets an Indian cleric considered holy by the citizenry. His name is Sadhu. The holy many had insufficient clothing to cover him from the whims of extreme cold, and he was struggling to survive. Noticing the needs of Sadhu, McCoy and his fellow hikers provides him with clothing to keep him from the adverse effect of the cold. They also give him food and some warm drinks to gain the lost warmth. Filled with empathy, members of the group volunteered to take the holy man down the mountain to a nearby village. Nonetheless, they leave him and continue with their expedition up the mountain. They rationalized their action by saying that the man would distract their focus and objective of ascending to the peak of the mountain. McCoy admits that he did not know what had happened to Sadhu, raising the moral question of how individuals should act in a dilemma typical of genuine ethical issues. As such, the case study responds to the questions about addressing ethical dilemmas and crises. He recognizes that if the group had gone down the slopes, they could have shifted their focus from the organizational objectives. Can an individual, therefore, act in a way that contravenes the objectives of an organization when responding to an ethical dilemma? Should individual ethics reflect the ethics held by an organization? Ciulla asserts that the parable of Sadhu provides insights into how to deal with ethical dilemmas when caught between organizational and personal morals. Power is the ability to influence others to increase the chances of achievement of specific goals. Besides, power reflects control and access to resources and gives those who wield power an upper hand over the rest of the population. It is therefore imperative to notice that the nature of power is in itself an indication of self-interests. Humans use power as a means to attain their self-goals and objectives. As indicated by Machiavelli, human beings are in endless competition to fulfill their urge for power, as a means to their ends. Since human beings struggle for power, many ethical issues emerge regarding the use of power and the means through which people acquire power. While we consider that power allows the control of resources and access to other aspects of life, power clashes with ethics as it belittles the struggles of subjects of power. Plato's story about the ring of Gyges illuminates the human need to acquire power and act as they would wish. Despite calls to act in a just way, human instincts dictate that they act in the way that best fulfills their desires. Upon finding the invincible ring, Anas says that Gyges, who was priori a humble servant, acts contrary to the expectations of the people by conspiring with the queen to kill the king for him to ascend to the throne. Hence, human beings act in just ways only when they have no power. This is the only way that justice is possible. In the same way, human nature, according to Machiavelli, is short, brutal, and nasty, and as such, people will act to make the best out of it. Competition fills human nature, and thus, it is only within the context of law that people can control their egoistic needs and act nobly. Centralization of power is therefore the best way to avoid acts of impunity and misdeeds, since if every individual was powerful, the world would be lawless as people attempt to outdo each other and control them. Instead of the fact that all actions by human beings reflect self-interests, leaders must act within the framework of their respective organizations. Ciulla says that leaders are bound by organizational ethics that control their character and conduct. As such, leaders act in line with the objectives of an organization as opposed to self-interests. Nonetheless, when outside the context of the organizations, self-interests prevail, making the republic to control human beings through law. Did you like this, the parable of the Sadhu analysis sample? To get more works like this one, make sure to check out the database of academic paper examples at ivypanda.com. You will find thousands of samples for all your study needs.